Okay, so here we are going to be graphing the system of equations. So you can either choose the method of factoring, making a table, or graphing. I'm going to show you how to make the table, and then I'll show you how to do it graphing on the Desmos calculator. So there's not a table made here. So if you want to make a table, just use the straight line tool, make it really small on your sizer. Just draw a straight line, and then you're going to draw 5 lines going across it like this. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Doesn't need to be perfect. That one's really bad, so I'm going to fix it. There we go. And you can do it on the other one too. Here's this, and then 5 lines. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Wow, those look really different. That's okay. So here we're going to put our x. And remember, for the sake of this class, our x's are going to go from -2 to 2. So we're going to do -2, -1, 0, 1, and 2. So what we're going to do here is we're going to plug in each of these red x's, x values, in for this x here. Put a little line underneath it. So we have 2. I'm going to rewrite this whole thing down, but instead of x, I'm going to plug in -2 because that is my first x value. So I have 2, this 2 right here. And then instead of x squared, I'm going to have -2 from right here squared. And to do squared, you got to type it in a different box. And then -2. Okay. Now, instead of doing that math, you can just use that scientific calculator that I linked. Here's mine really quick. So I'm just going to type in exactly what I saw. So 2 parenthesis -2 parenthesis squared -2. So 2 parenthesis -2 parenthesis. For squared, you're going to hit a squared -2. And I get 6. So that means my y value is 6 when x is -2. So here's 6, and I'm going to plug in 6 here. Now we're going to do the same thing for -1, but instead of rewriting it out again, you can. It's just going to look very similar. The only thing that's going to change is we're going to change that -2 to a -1 because we're plugging in -1 for this x now. Oops, -2. 2 times -1 squared -2. So when I go back to my calculator, I don't need to retype that whole thing out. I can just change this to -1, and I get 0 as my y value. So on my y value, I'm going to put 0 for -1. And I can do the same thing for 0, 1, and 2. I don't need to type out the equation. I can just plug it into my calculator. So now I'm going to change that -1 to 0, and I get -2. So when x is 0, y is -2. Now I'm going to plug in 1. So I'm going to delete 0 and plug in 1, and I get 0. And then I'm going to plug in 2. So I'm going to delete 1 and put 2, and I get 6. So there's my equation here. Now I'm going to do the same thing for this equation over here. So it's a different one, but I'm still going to plug in all my same x values. So I'm going to start with -2, -1, 0, 1, and 2. Okay. But I'm just going to plug it into this equation instead. So we're going to have -2x plus 2. So -2, but instead of x, I'm going to plug in -2. and then plus 2. I'm going to plug that into my calculator. I'm going to clear all. So I have -2 parenthesis -2 parenthesis plus 2, and I get 6. I'm going to say this equals 6. And then I'm going to write 6 here. And now I'm going to do the same thing for -1, 0, 1, and 2. I'm just going to replace that -2 with -1, and I get 4. Now I'm going to replace that -1 with 0. I get 2. And then I'm going to replace that 0 with 1. I get 0. And then I'm going to replace the 1 with a 2, and I get -2. So there, my tables are all filled out. The last step here is I need to figure out where the 2 points intersect, or where these 2 equations intersect. And that means I'm looking for 2 points that are exactly the same on both tables. So if I look here, I have -2, 6, and over here I have -2, 6. So this is one of my intersection points. By the way, I forgot to put y's up here. There we go. Okay, here I have -1, 0, but here I have -1, 4. Those aren't the same. Here I have 0, -2. Here I have 0, +2. Again, those aren't the same. Here I have 1, 0, and here I have 1, 0. Those are the same. So I found my 2 points of intersection. One of them is -2, 6. So I'm going to go ahead and write that. And the other one is 1, 0. And I'm done. Now, if you want to double check your answer, or if you would rather do this graphing, you can go to Desmos, and we're going to plug in both of these equations. Y equals 2x squared minus 2, and y equals -2x plus 2. So y equals 2x squared plus 2. Wait, I think it's minus 2. And you can use this keyboard down here if you need to use that. And then y equals -2x plus 2. And if you click and drag, it'll show you more of the graph. But you're going to click on the 2 points where the graphs touch each other. So I'm looking, in my case, where the green and the purple graph touch each other. So here's one point, -2, 6. And here's another point down here at 1, 0. -2, 6 and 1, 0 are the same answers that I got down here. So we know we're right. So you just need to type those 2 equations into your Desmos graphing calculator, and then click on where they intersect.